I came home early from a night shift at my second job, bone-tired, my fingers still smelling like motor oil and burnt coffee. The lights were on, laughter spilling out of the living room like poison gas. I wasn't supposed to be home for another 3 hours, but I'd finished early. Thought I'd surprise my wife. Thought I'd be the good guy. Thought wrong. The takeout bag with our anniversary dinner was still warm in my hands. I bought her favorite, shrimp Alfredo, garlic knots, tiramisu. The receipt still in the bag. I didn't even step fully into the house. Just stood in the hallway, obscured by the wall near the kitchen, when I heard her voice. Oh my God, Ashley, he still thinks I find him attractive. My wife. Madison. My wife of 8 years. Her sister snorted. Girl, dump this loser already. I could hear the wine sloshing in their glasses. Then Madison dropped a line I will never forget if I live to be 90 and forget my own name. I did. She whispered it like a joke, but there was venom behind it. A twist of cruelty. The kind that hits you not in the chest, but lower, where it turns your stomach inside out and makes you feel like your whole body's a lie. Ashley cackled. Does he still do that thing where he tries to kiss you before work like he's some 1950s husband? Madison answered, yeah, and I fake it so badly, I think even the cat sees through it. More laughter. I wanted to walk in. I wanted to throw the damn food at the wall, scream, rage, throw plates, flip the table, whatever the movies say you're supposed to do. But I couldn't move. My legs were made of concrete. My hands went numb around the plastic bag. And still, I listened. She kept talking. He thinks working 2 jobs makes him a man, Madison said, slurring a little. He's always tired, always broke, and always trying so hard. I'm glad I don't have to fake attraction anymore. Her voice was sharp, laced with mockery. She sounded like someone else, someone I didn't marry. And in that moment, I knew. She wasn't just cheating. She was done. Checked out. Already moved on. Probably doing those nasty little things for someone else that she once did only for me. I put the food on the kitchen counter. Quietly. Like I didn't want to wake a sleeping baby. But the baby was already dead. Walked out the door. Got in my car. Drove to the end of the street. Parked. Stared at the wheel. Let the pain spread. I didn't cry. I couldn't. It was like all the emotions were stuck in traffic behind a wall of disbelief. My wife. The woman I once fought for. The one who held my face when my father died. Who said forever. She was laughing behind my back with her sister, mocking everything I'd done to keep us afloat. My phone buzzed the next morning. Madison. I didn't answer. 10 minutes later, another call. Then a text. Then another. The voicemails started pouring in. Her voice fake sweet at first, then panicked. Baby, where are you? You didn't come home last night. Is everything okay? Please call me. I turned the volume down. Let it burn. Let her sweat. What she didn't know yet was that I heard it all. Every filthy syllable. What she didn't know was that the man she thought was weak, the man she laughed at, he wasn't going to just take it. No, that man had a plan. Because the moment I stepped out that door, something inside me cracked wide open. And what poured out wasn't tears. It wasn't sadness. It was cold. Calculated. Pure. She thought she was playing a game. She didn't know I just changed the rules. I spent the next night at a cheap motel off Route 13. The kind of place where the wallpaper peels and the vending machine gives you warm soda. I didn't sleep. I just lay there on the stiff mattress, staring at the ceiling fan as it clicked like a countdown. My mind kept replaying Madison's voice. I'm glad I don't have to fake attraction anymore. Over and over like a cursed lullaby. At 3:12 a.m., I stopped lying to myself. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. I drove home after sunrise. Quiet, careful, like a thief. She wasn't there, probably at work or with him. The mystery man. The one she didn't have to fake it for. I went straight to the office, grabbed the old voice recorder I'd used for college lectures, and slid it behind the bookshelf in the living room. Then one in the kitchen, one in the bedroom. I knew she liked to run her mouth when she was drinking wine with her sister. I was counting on it. That same day, I took the rest of the week off both jobs. Told my boss my uncle died. No questions asked. I stayed hidden, tailing her like a ghost. I saw her at that same sleazy bar 3 nights in a row. Always with the same guy. Tall, leather jacket, probably 10 years younger than me. Watched them from the parking lot. Watch her laugh, toss her hair, touch his arm like she used to touch mine. Each night, I went home, poured a glass of whiskey, and listened to the recorder. And on the 4th day, I hit gold. They were in the kitchen, her and Ashley again. Drinking. Always drinking. I told him I'm going to therapy, Madison laughed. He thinks I'm healing. Idiot. Ashley chimed in. So when are you going to clean him out? Madison lowered her voice, but the recorder still caught it. Next month. He's too dumb to see it coming. The lawyer said if I wait until after the refinance, I get the house. Then I'll hit him with the divorce and take half his retirement while I'm at it. My heart stopped. She wasn't just unfaithful. She was plotting, planning, like a heist movie villain with a manicure. I stared at the little black recorder in my palm, trembling, not with sadness anymore. That part of me was gone. This was different. This was righteous fury. You give someone your loyalty, your sweat, your dreams, and they laugh about robbing you blind while sipping wine like it's ladies' night? No. I copied the recording to my laptop, then backed it up to a USB. Hid it in the basement behind the water heater. I wasn't stupid. If she ever caught wind of what I knew, she'd spin it, say it was out of context, gaslight me into thinking I misunderstood. But this time, I had proof. Her voice, her laugh, her plan. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet, but I knew this. She was going to regret thinking I was a wimp. That night, she came home late, reeking of cheap perfume and expensive lies. Hey, baby, she said like nothing happened. She kissed my cheek. Her lips felt cold. I forced a smile. Hey, Mads, how was therapy? She didn't even flinch. Just tossed her bag on the table and said, draining. I poured her a glass of wine, sat across from her, watched her sip. All I could think about was how easy it would be to poison that glass. How she'd never see it coming. But no, I had better plans. Plans that involved police, lawyers, and her crying behind a thick pane of glass. Madison had no idea. Not a clue. She still kissed me in the mornings, told me love you in that fake, sing-song voice like she was reading off a teleprompter. She still wore my hoodie around the house, like the betrayal clinging to her skin wasn't heavy enough. But I saw through her now. I saw the little smile she gave herself in the mirror when she thought I wasn't looking. I saw the text she quickly swiped away when I passed by. I saw everything. And she had no idea I was watching. She didn't know I was recording everything. Every phone call. Every whisper. Every lie. 3 days after I caught that first conversation about her plan to rob me, I got something even better. It was a Tuesday night. I'd left a recorder running in the bedroom closet. I'd almost forgotten about it until I checked it later that night. She was on the phone. With him. I didn't know his name yet, but now I knew his voice. I'm serious, babe, he said. We'll sell the house, split the cash, and disappear. You'll never have to see that loser again. Madison giggled. He still thinks I'm trying to save the marriage. Can you believe it? He brings me flowers now. Pathetic. I clenched my fists so hard my nails cut into my palm. Flowers. I bought her flowers that morning. Pink lilies. She used to love those. Or at least pretended to. I can't wait to see his face when I tell him, she said, her voice dropping to a sultry whisper. But not yet. I need him to finish the paperwork on the refinance. He's so close. That was it. That was the final nail. She wasn't just unfaithful. She was a thief wearing a wedding ring. I stared at my laptop screen, watching the audio waves spike with every mocking laugh. My chest felt like it had a bomb ticking inside it. But I wasn't going to blow. Not yet. I needed her to think she'd won. So, I played the doting husband. I made her breakfast the next day, drove her to her fake therapy session, even rubbed her feet while she watched some trashy dating show. And at night, when she was asleep, I planned. First, I moved my money, emptied the joint account, and created one in my name only. Then I canceled the refinance paperwork, told the agent we'd changed our minds. Madison never noticed. Too busy texting that leather-jacketed punk who probably thought he was about to live in my house. I also contacted a lawyer. A damn good one. Told him everything. Showed him the recordings. You realize this is criminal conspiracy, he said, stunned. This isn't just divorce material. This is jail time. I know, I replied. That's the point. He told me to gather everything. Build a case. So I did. Every file, every screenshot, every recording, timestamped and labeled. Then I waited. She grew bolder as the days went by. Stayed out longer. Came home with perfume that wasn't hers. Took showers immediately like she was washing away her guilt. And every night, I smiled and said, "How was your day?" And every time, she lied through her perfect teeth. It was good, babe. Long day at therapy. But behind that sweet little lie, she was planning my downfall. She didn't know I already buried her with her own words. She didn't know I had a friend in the local police department who owed me a favor. She didn't know I was going to ruin her in the most poetic way possible by letting her walk right into the trap she built for me. She thought she was smart. She had no idea who she married. She had no idea that every sweet kiss on her way out the door was sealing her fate. Every fake, "I love you," was another nail in her own coffin. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was orchestrating. On a quiet Thursday evening, Madison got a text while we were watching TV. I caught a flash of the name, Cameron. I filed it away. Finally, a name for the guy sticking his tongue down my wife's throat while she plotted to rob me blind. She smiled at her phone like a teenager in heat. I didn't flinch. I leaned over, kissed her on the temple, and asked, "Everything okay?" She nodded. "Just Ashley. She wants to do brunch tomorrow. Tell her I said hi," I said, as calm as a sniper behind a scope. She was wearing my sweatshirt, legs tucked under her on the couch, looking like the same girl I married. But everything in her was rotten now. Everything I loved had been hollowed out and replaced with greed and deception. The next morning, I made my move. I scheduled a meeting with Officer Daniels, my old friend from high school who was now a detective. We'd stayed in touch over the years. I showed him the recordings, the dates, the names, the voices. He listened without interrupting, his face getting more serious with every passing second. "Jesus, man," he finally muttered. "She really said all this?" "And more," I said, sliding over the USB drive. "I want her charged. Conspiracy to commit fraud. Wire fraud. Whatever sticks." Daniels leaned back, exhaled. "I'll talk to the DA. You might have just built the cleanest case I've seen in years." "Good," I said. "Now I just need one more thing." He raised a brow. "What?" "A wire." Madison had planned to finish me off after the refinance. She was still waiting for the documents. I needed to provoke her into saying something, confirming the plot one last time, this time with her face on video and her voice crystal clear. That night, I set the trap. I told her I had news. Sat her down at the kitchen table and handed her an envelope. "What's this?" she asked. I smiled. "Our refinance papers. I signed them today. Just need your signature." Her eyes sparkled for a second. Real sparkle. Not fake love. Not affection. Pure greed. "You did it without me?" she asked, trying to sound casual. "Figured I'd take something off your plate," I said. "Since therapy's been rough." She nodded slowly. "That's thoughtful of you." She signed the papers. I recorded the moment on my phone, hidden in a bookcase behind her. Her signature. Her smile. Her words. Finally. This nightmare's almost over. Boom. Got her. The next day, I scheduled a dinner with her and Ashley. Told them I booked us a table at a new upscale restaurant. I wanted to celebrate, I said. Our marriage getting back on track. The future. She wore a red dress. The one I bought her for our anniversary 3 years ago. I could barely look at her without imagining Cameron's hands all over her. Ashley met us at the restaurant. Both of them buzzed with wine and anticipation. They thought they were winning. Over dessert, I dropped the final bait. "I was thinking," I said, "once we get the check from the house, maybe we go somewhere. Just you and me. Start over." She hesitated, then said, "That sounds nice." Ashley grinned behind her wine glass. "You two are so cute." I wanted to flip the table. Instead, I smiled and said, "To second chances." We toasted. She clinked glasses with me. The same woman who planned to leave me with nothing. The next day, Officer Daniels called. "We're good to go," he said. "Warrant signed. We pick her up Monday." I stared at the calendar. Monday. Our anniversary. Perfect. Monday morning came cold and gray. The kind of day that already smells like rain and endings. I woke up before the alarm, staring at the ceiling, knowing that by sundown, everything would be different. Madison was still asleep beside me, snoring lightly, one leg flung over mine like we were still a normal couple. If only she knew. I got out of bed without waking her. Took a long, slow shower. Dressed clean. Calm. Like a man heading to a business meeting. Because that's what this was now, business. Revenge was never emotional for me. Not anymore. That part had died the moment I heard her whisper, "He still thinks I'm attracted to him." She came into the kitchen an hour later in her robe, rubbing her eyes. "Happy anniversary," she said with a lazy smile, walking over and planting a kiss on my cheek. "I made us dinner reservations tonight." "That's sweet," I said. "You didn't have to." "Oh, come on," she laughed. "One of us has to keep the romance alive." I almost choked on my coffee, but I kept it cool. "That reminds me," I said. "Let's go for a little drive before dinner. I have something to show you." She raised an eyebrow. A surprise. You'll love it. She fell for it like a blind bird flying into glass. At 4 p.m., we got in the car. I drove us through our old neighborhood, past the park where I'd proposed to her under Christmas lights 6 years ago. She didn't seem to notice. She was too busy on her phone, probably texting Cameron sweet nothings and laughing behind that perfect smile. I pulled into the downtown precinct parking lot. She blinked. Wait, why are we here? I turned off the engine. We're meeting someone. Who? She asked, her voice a little sharper now. Detective Daniels. She froze. Her fingers tightened around her phone. Why would we be meeting? You'll see. I got out and opened her door. She didn't move. Madison, I said, get out of the car. She stepped out like she was walking into a trap, because she was. Daniels met us at the door with a polite nod. He led us inside without saying much. Down the hall. Into an interview room. Plain walls, table, 2 chairs. A third for the detective. She sat slowly, eyes darting between us. Her lips tight. Her silence growing louder. Madison Walker, Daniels began, placing a folder in front of her. You were under investigation for conspiracy to commit fraud, attempted financial exploitation, and accessory to identity theft. What the hell? She snapped, instantly rising to her feet. What are you talking about? This is insane. He opened the folder and slid out photos, screenshots, transcriptions, audio recordings. Her voice. Her words. Her plans. All right there. I don't know what this is, she said, her voice cracking. These are fake. You forged this. She pointed at me now. You set me up. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table. You set yourself up, Madison. Her eyes widened. I could see the moment it all clicked. The cameras. The recordings. The refinance she didn't double-check. The phone call I baited her into. All of it. You were recording me, she hissed. You sneaky little coward. Daniels interrupted. You have the right to remain silent, Mrs. Walker. No, this isn't happening, she whispered, shaking her head like she could reverse time with enough denial. You can't do this to me. You did it to yourself, I said quietly. Daniels stood. We'll be placing you under arrest now. She exploded. You think I'll go down alone? You think you're some hero now? You ruined everything, you spineless loser. 2 officers entered the room. She screamed as they cuffed her. Cried. Then started laughing. Real, unhinged laughter. You think this is over? You think I don't have dirt on you? I stayed silent, watching her dragged out of the room, kicking and swearing like a wild animal. I didn't say goodbye. Didn't need to. The door slammed behind her, and I exhaled for the first time in months. It was done. Almost. The silence after they dragged her out was deafening. Not peaceful, just empty. Like the house you grew up in after the furniture's gone and the walls echo every step. Detective Daniels gave me a long look from across the table. He didn't say anything at first, just tapped his fingers on the manila folder filled with everything that used to be my life. You sure you're okay? He finally asked. I nodded, but it was automatic. Truth is, I didn't know if I was okay. I wasn't even sure what okay meant anymore. She was gone. Cuffed. Screaming. Still trying to manipulate her way out. But even with her out of the picture, I didn't feel the kind of victory I thought I would. No rush of satisfaction. No adrenaline spike. Just cold. She'll be processed today, Daniel said, gathering the papers. You'll probably be contacted by her attorney soon. Be ready. Ready for what? I asked. For her to throw everything she has at you. Tears. Excuses. Maybe even blame. I nodded again, slower this time. Let her. I left the station and didn't go home right away. I drove past our favorite diner. Past the theater where we used to sneak in our own popcorn. Past the dog park where we once talked about getting a golden retriever. Every place felt like it had been vandalized. Like someone spray-painted liar across the memories. Back home, the silence wasn't just heavy, it was suffocating. Her perfume still lingered in the hallway. A bottle of her nail polish sat on the bathroom counter. Half a cup of tea she'd made the night before was still sitting on the nightstand. I stood there and stared at it for a full minute, then dumped it down the drain. I opened the closet. Half her clothes were still there. And for the first time, I broke. Not because I missed her. Not because I wanted her back. But because it hit me how deeply I'd been used. Not just cheated on, but emotionally gutted. Gaslit. Mocked. Played like a fool for months, maybe longer. She never loved me. Not the way I loved her. And that truth hurt more than anything. That night, she called me from jail. Blocked number. I answered. Jason, she said, voice soft, fake sweet. They told me you set this up. You really recorded me. I didn't respond. Jason, baby, please. I panicked. I said things I didn't mean. Ashley was pressuring me, and Cameron, he's not even in my life anymore. You are my life. I laughed. It wasn't a joyful laugh. It was dry, bitter, a little dangerous. You said you were glad you didn't have to fake attraction anymore. She paused. That wasn't serious. I was drunk. We were joking. You were planning to take the house. My retirement. Call me a coward. A loser. Silence. Jason, she whispered, her voice cracking. I messed up, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll tell them it was a misunderstanding. I leaned back in my chair. No, Madison. You won't. Please don't do this to me, she whimpered. You already did it to yourself, I said, then hung up. I blocked the number and sat there, alone, but finally free. That night, I opened a bottle of whiskey, poured one glass, just one. Then I opened my laptop and began writing an email to my lawyer. This wasn't just going to be a divorce. It was going to be a cleansing, a full, brutal reset. No mercy, no guilt, just truth and consequences. The days that followed were the kind of quiet that doesn't soothe you, it haunts you. It wasn't just about missing someone, it was about questioning everything. What was real? What was performance? Did she ever love me? Or was I just a placeholder until someone with better abs and a fatter wallet came along? But even as those questions swirled in my mind, I stayed focused. My lawyer, Mark Rasmussen, moved quickly. He was sharp, clean-cut, ex-military, all business. The moment I handed him the recordings, he looked at me and said, "We're not just filing for divorce. We're filing for blood." I like that. We filed on the grounds of marital fraud, and with the evidence I had, the judge didn't blink. Madison wasn't just facing jail time anymore. She was about to lose everything she tried to steal from me. Her attorney reached out 2 days later. Some well-dressed vulture named Jerome Reed who talked like every sentence cost him $500. She's willing to settle privately, he said over the phone. No need to drag this through the mud. I smirked. She already did. She's prepared to forfeit her claim to the house and waive alimony. All she asks is it. I cut him off. No. A pause. Mr. Walker, I don't think you understand. No, you don't understand, I snapped. She tried to ruin me. She laughed about it. She called me names, cheated on me, and then tried to take the roof over my head. I'm not giving her an easy out. A longer pause. Then we'll see you in court, he said, voice tight. I hung up. Later that night, I got another call. Blocked number again. I didn't answer. I already knew what it would be: more lies, more crocodile tears, more desperate begging. I didn't owe her my attention anymore. I owed myself peace. But the universe wasn't done twisting the knife. 2 days before our first court appearance, I got an anonymous message on Instagram. No words. Just a photo. Madison and Cameron in a hotel room, wrapped up in each other like they hadn't just destroyed a marriage. He was shirtless. She was wearing the red dress I bought her, the one she wore the night she toasted to second chances. The photo was dated 3 weeks before her arrest. I stared at it for a long time, not because it hurt anymore, but because it was confirmation. Final. Undeniable. Any trace of doubt I had was gone. She hadn't slipped. She hadn't made a mistake. She had chosen to be this woman. I forwarded the photo to my lawyer. He added it to the file. Another nail in her legal coffin. At the hearing, Madison looked like a ghost. Gone were the designer heels and smug attitude. Her hair was flat, her skin pale, makeup barely masking the panic in her eyes. She tried to smile at me when we passed in the hall. I didn't even blink. Inside the courtroom, she tried to tell the judge she was manipulated, that she was under emotional distress, that I had twisted things. My lawyer hit play. We listened to her voice fill the courtroom. I told him I'm going to therapy. He thinks I'm healing. Idiot. Then another. He's too dumb to see it coming. The lawyer said if I wait until after the refinance, I get the house. The judge leaned forward, steepled his fingers, and asked her, Mrs. Walker, was that your voice? She looked down. Silent. It didn't matter. The recordings were verified. My case was airtight. By the time we left the courtroom, I had everything I asked for. The house. The car. Protection on my retirement. And she? She had a sentencing date. Still, as I drove home that night, something gnawed at me. It wasn't guilt. Not pity either. It was the weight of it all. love turned poison, and how sometimes the biggest betrayal doesn't come from an enemy, but from the one who promised never to hurt you. I thought getting everything in court would feel like a win. I thought seeing Madison speechless in front of a judge, her lies shattered, her games exposed, would fill me with something like peace. But peace doesn't come that easy. Not after betrayal this deep. I came home that night, opened the front door, and stood in the middle of the living room. My living room. Mine again. And yet, it still felt haunted. The ghost of her perfume clung to the curtains. Her laugh, her footsteps, her presence, it all still lingered, even though she didn't live there anymore. Not physically, but pieces of her were everywhere. The next few days were slow, heavy, like the dust that settles after a storm. I boxed up her stuff. Every dress, every shoe, every picture. The wedding album went into the trash. I didn't even hesitate. Our smiles in those photos felt like they belonged to strangers who had no idea what was coming. One night, I got a text from Ashley, her sister. For what it's worth, I didn't think she'd go that far. I'm sorry. I stared at it for a while. Then blocked her too. Sorry didn't mean anything after the fact. She had sat there, drinking wine, laughing about how I was a loser, egging Madison on. She was just as dirty. The trial was over. The divorce was finalized. The sentencing came quick. Madison got 18 months for conspiracy and attempted fraud, plus restitution. No cameras. No headlines. Just justice, quietly served. I didn't go to the sentencing. I didn't need to see her in cuffs again. I already saw enough. But something changed in me. There was a moment a few weeks later. I was at the grocery store, aisle 5, looking at cereal. A couple passed by me, young, maybe early 30s. She laughed at something he whispered, and he kissed the top of her head like it was second nature. Pure. Innocent. Real. And for the first time since everything happened, I felt a stab of something I hadn't let myself feel. Hope. Not for Madison. Not for fixing the past. But for me. I started running again. Signed up for a gym membership. Cut off the toxic friends. Cleaned out the kitchen. I even repainted the bedroom walls, changed them from the soft beige Madison picked to a deep steel blue. Masculine. Clean. Mine. Little by little, the house started to feel like my home again. Not a crime scene. Not a place of betrayal. But a place where something new might grow. And one night, sitting on the back porch with a whiskey glass in hand, I thought about all of it. The lies. The games. The manipulation. But also the lessons. Lesson 1. If something feels off, it probably is. Trust your gut. I ignored the red flags because I wanted to believe in the best version of her. But love without honesty is just denial with a heartbeat. Lesson 2. Never let someone else control your worth. I bent over backward trying to prove myself to a woman who had already decided I wasn't enough. No more. My value doesn't live in anyone else's opinion. Especially not someone who'd stab me in the back for a few extra zeros on a bank statement. Lesson 3. Revenge might taste sweet, but healing tastes better. And healing doesn't mean forgiving the unforgivable. It means moving forward without dragging the corpse of what hurt you. So here I am. Not broken. Not bitter. Just free. If you're reading this and you're in the same place I was, lost, lied to, betrayed, hear me out. You won't just survive this. You'll rebuild. Stronger. Smarter. And one day, when the ghost of her is nothing but a whisper in your memory, you'll be standing in your kitchen, drinking your morning coffee, and you'll smile, not because you miss her, but because you don't anymore. And that's real freedom.